Most people think the wealthy pull away because of secret investments, special knowledge, or some advantage that regular people don't have. But the real reason is much simpler. There is a point in your financial journey where the entire game changes, a point where your money becomes more powerful than your effort, a point where progress suddenly feels easier, faster, and more stable than ever before, and that point is somewhere around $500,000. Not because it's a magic number, but because of what starts happening behind the scenes the moment you reach it. Before 500K, almost everything depends on your effort. Your progress comes from your job, your discipline, your budgeting, and your ability to save a little more each month. You are the engine. You have to carry the entire weight of your progress. And that's why this phase feels slow. Even when you're doing everything right, the results don't always show up quickly. If you save $200 or $300 a month and your investments grow by 10%, that growth might only be a few $100s. It barely moves the needle. You still feel like you're climbing a hill with a heavy backpack, and for most people, this phase lasts years, sometimes even decades. But something changes when your net worth or invested balance crosses roughly $500,000. Suddenly, you're no longer the only engine. Your money has become an engine too, and in some cases, a stronger one than you. A 7% to 10% return on $500,000 generates $35,000 to $50,000 a year without you lifting a finger. That is more than many people ever save in a year. That means your money is now doing the heavy lifting. It's working 24/7. It never gets tired. It never takes a break. And once this starts happening, the wealthy begin to pull away so fast that it almost looks unfair from the outside. The second big shift is this. After 500K, every mistake becomes less painful, and every good choice becomes more rewarding. When you have $5,000 invested, a bad month in the market feels devastating. A drop feels personal. You feel like you're losing progress you spent years building. But with 500K, market dips look different. A 10% drop is $50,000 on paper, yet wealthy people don't panic because they know something you don't. Big dips usually lead to big recoveries, and when the recovery happens, they gain tens of thousands of dollars without putting in new money. This is the advantage nobody talks about. At higher levels, time becomes your ally instead of your enemy. Another reason the wealthy pull away is that decision-making gets much easier when you're no longer stressed about money. Below 500K, most people are constantly worried about bills, emergencies, or whether they're saving enough. Stress leads to bad choices. Pulling money out at the wrong time, buying things they can't afford, avoiding investing because it feels risky, or waiting for the right moment that never comes. But once you reach that $500,000 mark, decisions become clearer. You're not operating from panic, you're operating from stability. And that stability has a compounding effect of its own. Then comes the biggest shift of all, options. When the wealthy reach 500K, they gain options that help them pull even further ahead. They can take better job opportunities because they're not desperate for income. They can weather temporary setbacks without destroying their progress. They can take calculated risks, starting a business, buying an asset, or increasing their investments, because they have a safety net behind them. Most people never get to experience this phase because they give up too early, assuming compounding doesn't work for them. But it's not that compounding doesn't work. It's that they haven't crossed the threshold where compounding becomes powerful. Another major factor is the speed of growth. Below 500K, your growth comes from your contributions. But after 500K, your growth mostly comes from your returns. And this flips the whole system. If someone saves $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year. But if they already have 500K invested and it grows at 10%, that's $50,000 a year, over 4 times their savings, created automatically. That's why the wealthy seem to accelerate even if they stop saving aggressively. The system has turned in their favor. The wealthy aren't outworking anyone at this stage. The wealth is outworking them. Another thing people don't realize is how much faster opportunities show up when you already have money. With 500K, you can take advantage of market drops. You can buy assets when others are scared. You can move quickly when chances appear. Most people miss these opportunities not because they're unlucky, but because they don't have the cash or investments built up to take advantage. Wealthy people win simply because they're ready when the moment comes. But here's the part most people misunderstand. Wealthy people don't pull away because of the 500K. They pull away because of everything they did before reaching 500K. The discipline, the consistency, the sacrifices, the slow grind. That stage is the hardest and the least talked about. It feels like nothing is happening. But that phase is where the foundation is built. And once you cross the threshold, the foundation finally starts producing results you can actually see. If you feel stuck right now, it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're still in the phase where your effort is carrying most of the weight. That phase feels slow for everyone. Even wealthy people went through it. The key is not to quit during the slow years. Most people who give up do it right before compounding starts working. The wealthy simply kept going long enough for their money to catch up to their effort. Here's the part that matters most. You don't need to start big to reach 500K. You need to stay consistent. Even small amounts compound into larger amounts over time. The real advantage wealthy people have is not their income. It's that they stayed in the game long enough for the math to turn in their favor. Once your money starts growing faster than you can save, the entire journey feels different. You're no longer stressed. You're no longer hoping for progress. You're seeing it happen. That's when confidence builds, decisions improve, and the gap widens naturally. But you don't have to wait until 500K to feel progress. You can start building momentum much earlier by keeping your system simple. Save consistently. Invest regularly. Avoid lifestyle creep. Stay invested when things get scary. Let time do the heavy lifting. These are simple steps, but they're powerful because they stack on top of each other. The wealthy don't have different rules. They just stayed long enough to see the rules work. So if you're below 500K right now, don't feel discouraged. Most people never reach that point not because they can't, but because they stop before compounding has a chance to work. Every dollar you invest today pushes you closer to the point where your money starts taking over the job. And once that happens, your progress will look like it's sped up overnight, even though it was building slowly in the background the entire time. The journey to 500K is the hardest part, but it's also the most important part. It's where discipline is built, habits are formed, and your financial identity changes. After that point, wealth becomes less about effort and more about patience, less about grinding and more about letting your money breathe, less about stress and more about options. That's why the wealthy seem to separate from everyone else after reaching this number. Their money works harder than their emotions. Their patience pays them. Their consistency puts them in the top category without needing anything extreme or special. And here's the final truth. Anyone can benefit from the same forces the wealthy benefit from, but only if they stay in the game long enough. Your first 500K is the grind. Stay consistent, let your money grow, and one day you'll see the shift too, because the turning point never feels dramatic while it's happening. It feels like ordinary days, small deposits, and quiet progress that doesn't look like much at first. But those small choices keep stacking. And eventually you wake up and realize the hard part is behind you. The results finally start showing. The pressure gets lighter, and money begins doing what you always hoped it would. Working harder than you do. Keep going. You're closer than you think. And when that shift finally comes, it doesn't arrive with fanfare. It's subtle. A bill that used to stress you no longer matters. A small emergency doesn't shake your plans. You stop checking your balance every day because you trust the process now. That's the real reward of staying the course. Not just having more money, but having more control, more calm, and more space to build the life you actually want.